One of my favourite quotes, such a wise quote, is often attributed to different people having invented it, but I've heard it quoted to different people in different parts of the world. So I think it's one of those timeless old wise quotes that is still relevant today. And it relates to the word enlightenment. And enlightenment, if you look up with some cartoons, is where suddenly you get it. Suddenly you see it from the whole view. Suddenly everything comes together and makes sense. It's used in Star Wars. The Jedi Knight gets enlightenment and then becomes a knight because they learn to use the Force. Enlightenment, that wow moment, that aha moment where things come together. It can be a small bit just around, so that's how that little button goes on that to fix it. Or it can be, I see how the whole strategy of the business needs to change, and it works. I like enlightenment. I think in my life I've been seeking enlightenment in different ways, more or less successfully. I've always been somebody who wants to know how things fit together, and I'm not very scientific. So I certainly want to know why things happen. I ask that question a lot. And the quote is this: enlightenment isn't turning on the light, it's seeing in the dark. And so we talk about wanting to throw light on things. We always think if we get more information, more knowledge, more expertise, we'll suddenly get something. And we do, with some problems, technical problems in a lot of cases, getting a jigsaw puzzle to fit together. But enlightenment is also when you're asking questions like, what's the purpose of our business? What are we here for? And certainly really what are sometimes called wicked problems like climate change is sometimes you just have to sit with problems and be prepared to just live with the mystery of them and not know the answer, and sometimes just be patient and wait until our level of knowledge increases, or that you ask the right questions. And in some stories you find a guide who helps you. So enlightenment isn't just turning on the light, it's also seeing in the dark. And so we go into the mystery of not knowing. Sometimes we just ask questions, sometimes we're just patient, sometimes we go for a walk and just let those thoughts sit with us, and then suddenly it all comes together. It's sometimes called a moment of convergence, where all things that were separate, that didn't seem fit together, you go, now I know what we must do next. And some of those moments of enlightenment have saved businesses. They've often gone against everything the facts seem to be saying, and sometimes you call it your instinct. Trust your instincts. But nearly always those answers to those questions involve you having to ask difficult questions in your organisation, going into the areas where there's more shadow and darkness than light. And that can be something that people are scared of doing. And yet in lots of stories and films, it was the journey through the cave, the journey into the underworld in Greek mythology, where there was a lot of trials and tribulations. And then when we came into the light, it's not guaranteed, but we had made a discovery and we were wiser. And that's the word that's associated with it. So as you try to become a successful leader in a business, or to think more creatively, you may have to be prepared to go into those darker places and not just always assume that the answer lies on Google.